Okay.
You all set?
All set. All right, so the recording has begun. Today is May 10th, and this is the 2016 Facilities Geospatial Technology Showcase. The second annual webinar series is hosted by the Campus Facilities Technology Association and organized by the University of Kentucky. I'm Lauren Weaver, and thank you all for joining us today. Today's webinar is being recorded. Both the recording and the slides will be made available on the CFTA website. The presentation is estimated to run for about 45 minutes, with the remaining time open for Q&A. Please feel free to send any questions you have during the presentation using the questions dialog box or by raising your hand. Your question will be added to the queue and answered at the end of the presentation as time allows. I'd like to extend a big thank you to today's presenter, Monty Combs, Director of Systems and Services at Brown University. He joins us today to discuss Brown's mobile application for work order management, and I'm excited to see what he's going to share with us. Monty, thank you for joining us. The webinar is yours.
Great. Thank you very much, Lauren, for that introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm going to try to make this presentation relevant to what a lot of you are working on, and hopefully we keep it focused on things that are actually going to help you in your jobs. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was my group, which is the Systems and Services group. It's the IT group, and we are embedded in facilities management. And we are facilities management employees, and we work very closely with the central IT group. I've been with the organization for 13 years now, all of it within facilities management, and about 7 of it has been as the director in the IT role. And then my group is made up of the 4 people that you see here. We have a CAD supervisor, does all the mapping. That's Chad. He's been here for 17 years. Tom Flood's our systems administrator. He's been with the organization for 9 years. And then Scott Lloyd's our database administrator, and he handles all of our CMMS, our famous application database, and a lot of other databases as well. And then Peter Fay is our programmer, and he's been here a couple of years, and he handles primarily all the integrations between systems and also all of our website development. And then in addition to that, we have 2 help desk technicians, and we have another CAD technician that works under Chad. So about Brown, we're located in Providence, Rhode Island. It's, compared to a lot of the schools that we interact with, we're relatively small, but we have about 242 buildings. But that's a little deceiving because 110 of those are houses. And because of the age of the university, a lot of those are historic old Victorian homes that house academic departments and whatnot. Campus is about a total of 154 acres, and we're running close to 7 million square feet now. You can see there the total student population is just over 9,000, made up of the undergrad, grad, medical. And then the in the FM department, we have just about 400 employees, and that houses all the custodial staff and grounds, trades, and planning, design, and construction, engineering, and real estate. All right, so what I want to talk about today, I'll give you an overview so that you can determine how relevant this is to what you're working on. I'm really focusing on FM operations today, not so much on the GIS side of the house. I saw on the list of attendees there's a lot of GIS folks here, but we're going to be really focusing on operations. Mobile being a big part of what I'm talking about, and some of the things that it's enabled for us, and tying together multiple projects that we've been working on. And then I will be doing a mobile demo for about half of the presentation, but for the first half of it I want to give you an overview of 4 projects that we've been working on for several years that tie all of this together. So the preventive maintenance project I'll get into, and I'll spend probably a little more time on that and focus on that one. I'll just touch briefly on the document management project, our visual aids project. I'll describe that and just briefly cover that. and then certainly the mobile project as well. So the whole idea of preventive maintenance, really, if you believe this graphic here, then you would buy into the whole notion of PM and what it can do for your organization. So this is a statistic that we have from Sightlines. Sightlines is a company that we work with, that probably many of your universities do as well. They have a larger number of schools where they put together, collect metrics from different universities, and then they do comparisons and whatnot across schools. So in this particular one, for every dollar invested in PM, the projected benefit of that you're saving in reactive or unplanned work is $2.73. So we fully believe this is the case, and this is why we've made such a big effort to invest in our preventive maintenance program. And I'll be talking about what we've been doing in that space. So here's another graphic from Sightlines as well. And what this one shows is, according to all of their numbers, best practice range is to spend roughly 10 to 12% of your operating cost, your budget, on preventive maintenance. And where Brown has been running, we've been increasing that spend slowly over time by not increasing our overall budget, but by reallocating our budget into preventive maintenance. And this is going to be self-feeding, and we're starting to see the benefits of this, is that as your reactives do start to decline, you can take that savings and put that back into PM. But it takes a lot of time to get this off the ground. So you can see we've been steadily increasing that spend since FY09 and working more and more, reallocating people towards more PM and trying to pull them away from the day-to-day unplanned work. So here is the overview of the preventive maintenance project here. So it's a long-term proposition that you're looking at to get into this. There's no shortcuts here. In 2011, we hired a couple companies to come in and work with us to help develop a strategy as to how we could tackle our PM and be very strategic about it. We went out in 2012, we did a number of site visits to look at how things are being done out there in the industry and looking for best practices and glean what we could from those companies. And then from there we developed a whole plan that we started in 2012, which started with just really hiring a dedicated PM manager and then filling a couple positions under that role for an inventory equipment manager and a planner and a scheduler for the PMs. As far as the foundation for any PM program, all roads led to the same conclusion, which was you need a really solid asset inventory database. So we embarked on a number of different things. We tried a pilot program where we were going to self-tag everything in the university. We abandoned that. We wound up outsourcing that project. And we're closing in on completion of that. We're just down to our last couple of portfolios, which are the buildings that have the least amount of PM on them. And we've asset tagged all the equipment on campus. We've categorized it and prioritized all the different types of assets. And then throughout that whole time frame, we started updating the PM task list and updating the schedules on whether they're quarterly or semi-annually, annually. And in 2015, we've kicked off updating once again our PM metrics, and that's been a very tricky project to get the right metrics in place as to how you truly measure how you're performing on your PM program. And then just this year, we have a temp contractor worker that has joined us to help develop our PM master schedule. Now that we have all of the assets in the database, we have the PM task defined and some of the scheduling on all that defined. We're starting to develop the master schedule so we can start to resource load how all this work gets done. So when we kicked this project off in 2011, we were running about 70% reactive work and 30% planned work. So in 2016, we've changed that considerably. Today we're running about 45% reactive work and 55% planned work. What our target was to reach 70% planned work and 30% reactive. So on the dock management, I won't go too much into all of these. I'll just touch briefly on them. And the intent of showing all these different projects is to just give you an idea that all of these things have been happening in parallel, and they're all big projects and they all take a long time. So in 2013 is when we did the needs analysis for our document management solution. We selected Blue Cello Meridian as our solution through ACAD Plus, and we've been working on that project since, and we had to scan all of our archive history and index that and that all into the database. We had a good solid year's worth of database integrations that we had to work on to get our projects database synced up with Meridian, as well as our CMMS system synced up with Blue Cello. And all that's done. We're live. Today we have about 58,000 documents loaded in the system, and it's just really beginning to ramp up now as far as getting all of our project managers actively using it for all projects. As far as the visual aids, what this is an idea that came up a few years ago, and we've embarked on a pilot program with this where rather than provide a set of construction documents or as-built documents to our trades or our field staff where they have to hunt through the whole set of documents to find the data they need, what we've done is we've produced a set of what we call these visual aids or building masters, where we pull out all the pertinent information and put it on a plan for them to utilize in the field, so they don't have to look through the reams of documents to find the information they need. And I'll show you an example or two of these when we get into the mobile demo. But the little pictures that you see there, the graphics that you see, one of them is an HVAC plan, and it shows the color coding which AHU unit cools that area or heats that unit, as the case may be. And then we have equipment diagrams as well. So I know there's a lot of interest in BIM. So why have visual aids and why aren't we using BIM? Well, I think we'll get there. We're just not there yet. And I'm not alone in that. I know there's plenty of others struggling with getting it there. But here are some of the reasons where we're not really in the BIM world out as far as in the field with our trades technicians. We are definitely in the BIM world in our project management side of the house and delivery of large capital projects. But the reality is just a small percentage of our buildings are fully modeled. So it's hard to deploy BIM out into the workforce with just a small percent of the buildings actually done. And the construction model, so this model that you're looking at pictures here, this is our actual School of Engineering that's being constructed as we speak. And it's a very detailed model, and it's very large, and it takes a lot of time to call up. And there's still a lot of standards that we need to work out as far as how we can make that very useful to our trade technicians so they can weed through all the complexity of the model and get to exactly what they need. And then we really don't have a good clean integration of how we can display this model and have it integrate cleanly with our mobile app. So until we can solve that, we're just going to use these visual aids to bridge that gap. Okay. As far as the mobile project, this one here has been truly amazing to go mobile. We went live with our mobile app only 7 months ago, and when we were preparing for it and selling the benefits of it and listing out all the pros of it, the reality is those have all come true and then some. So I highly recommend for the 46% that I saw there that have not done it, get this on your roadmap as soon as possible. It was interesting that almost 30% of the respondents have been in the mobile for over 3 years. Those are the type of people I'd like to talk to say, what's going to happen now that we've been live with this? What are the new things that are going to emerge, the new challenges? I know in the 7 months that we've been live that we're getting a ton of requests for, can you add this? Can you do this now? What about this? And that's great because there's a lot of interest from our technicians and they want a lot more capability out of the system. But again, you can see there's a lot of history to these projects. They take a lot of time. We spent a year developing how we were going to manage our devices and the policies around the devices and making sure that we could deploy these out to our unionized workforce without creating all sorts of union type of issues. So we had to work through all of that and then design, build the app. And this app that we went with is from AppTree software, and it plugs in very nicely with our famous CMMS system. And then we did a pilot, and the pilot went so well that it basically just turned into our go live. And what we're working on now are enhancing the system with new features. And there's a couple screen captures there of the mobile app. So the mobile allowed us to tie all these projects together because we've been working hard on all these different projects, but truly now we can bring all of the efforts of those projects to bear on the mobile application and make this available to our technicians out in the field. And that's been incredibly powerful to have that. So here's just a screen capture of a graphic that's coming out of our reporting system. This is a Tableau report, and what it's showing is mobile usage for the past 7 months. And this is our way of tracking how well the adoption rate is amongst our trade staff. So along the bottom here, you have the staffing levels for each of our trade shops. So this is our Division 1, which is a carpentry shop here in the blue. And then our Division 2, that's our plumbing shop. Division 3 is our electrical shop, etc. And then, so for instance, on our Division 2, our plumbing shop, there's 10 employees in that shop. And you could see the general trend here. We went live in October of 2015. And you can see the general trend on most of these is ramping up. So this Division 8 is our HVAC shop, and 23 people in that shop, and the utilization now is coming up to roughly 60% utilization. And this is tracking the utilization of how many people are doing all of their time entry using the mobile. So this is pretty good results. A lot of our benefits and metrics are based on time card entry and time savings of doing time cards on the mobile. So that's why we're going to be monitoring this and getting those numbers up as high as possible. But we have 104 technicians out in the field using iPads that we deployed, and we have about another 30 or so management staff that have the iPads as well. So it's gone pretty quickly, the adoption rate and how well it's been received. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump into the actual mobile app. So hopefully you can see a screen there of my iPad. If you cannot, just make sure you enter into the chat box there and let Lauren know that so she can stop me or whatever. So what we're looking at now, I am displaying my iPad. I'm using a reflector software that reflects what's on my iPad up onto my screen. And we are logged into our mobile app, our work order mobile app, and I am logged into our production database. This is live, and I am logged in as one of our technicians. And what we're looking at here, this is the menu system here, over here, and you can scroll up and down on the menu system. And that menu system is customized based on the user's role. And then here's a list of work orders here. So this particular employee has 18 tickets on their workbench right now. Okay, and then here I have a menu toggle button, a search feature, and some other features. Okay, so if I swipe this work order listing over, I can see the full listing. And we also have a bunch of icons for each work order that you see displayed here that tells you something about those work orders. So in this particular case, this one is past its due date. Okay. However, it's got a wrench on it, so that indicates to me that there's some labor time charged to this ticket. So I know there's been some work done on this ticket. So these first 4 tickets have labor charges on them. Okay. So that's the 18 tickets that he has. You can see all a little detail of the work order number, the location of the work order, the type of work order, if it's preventive maintenance or whatnot. If I tap on the little bubble that's in the top right there, what that does is it takes my work orders and puts them onto a map for me. Okay, and it puts a little push pin into the building of where all those work orders are. So if I zoom out here, okay, you can see up here, I'm not sure if you guys can see, hopefully you see my mouse there, but my cursor, that's where I'm physically located right now in the facilities management building, and that's where these tickets are relative to me. Okay, so I can zoom in here and you start to see the buildings. Okay, and then you can come over here, zoom in. If I go into 3D mode on this, I can rotate around and kind of get a good visual of where all that work is taking place. Okay, and then I can actually go right in and you can get directions to this via walking and shortest distances and whatnot. If I zoom in on these buildings here, okay, I get the push pins there. If I tap on a push pin, okay, it comes up, tells me that there's 6 items in that location. I tap on that, and there are the 6 work orders that are in that particular building. Okay, so he's got some preventive maintenance work in the Biomed Center for air handling unit. So if I tap on one of those, it brings up the work order detail. Okay, and here now I get a lot of information about the whole work order. This overnight changed how we do business, because we used to print out our work orders. They'd come in the morning, log into their desktop, print out their tickets for the day, head out, and then come in at the end of the day with the hard copies and have to enter all that in and put their time in. Now this is what they're using for their work, and as they're completing the work, they just tap on the time card button up here and they can go ahead and put their time in against that ticket. Very powerful. So this tells me the piece of equipment on this work order, the status of it, the location of it. This is in the Biomed Center. It's on the floor 0, which is the basement, and it's in room 024A. If I scroll down, it gives me some more information here. Who's it assigned to? Here's the task list. So this is the PM task list that I mentioned that we've been working on cleaning up of these task lists. We abandoned the manufacturer's suggested task list and we put in our own, what we believe we need, and streamlined a lot of these task lists. Okay, so here's a task list of what that particular PM, the steps and all the things you're supposed to take care of to do the PM on this piece of equipment. Okay, and then we attach here, you get the floor plan here. So if I tap on that floor plan, it opens up the floor plan, and this one was in, I think it was 024A, but you can come in here and you can go ahead and find that particular, here's 024A right here. So that's the room where that is. So now, again, a lot of the guys already know the facilities pretty well, but for anybody new or for the really larger buildings where it is confusing, this is pretty handy to look up where that floor is rather than roaming around the building. And then we attach a couple of photos of the piece of equipment. And we take a picture of whatever the nameplate data is on that. Okay, and then there's a building description, there's some other information. The equipment service area, this is exhaust hoods in the basement and the first floor. So you know where that equipment service is. Okay, so that's just to give you an idea how that works. So that was all drilling down into the work order detail from this map. Okay, so if I come over here and I zoom in over here, tap on that one, there's 2 work orders in that building, etc. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my work order list here. Okay. Bear with me one second. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show you is looking up a piece of equipment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on the menu icon in the top left. And I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to go and I'm going to search for a piece of equipment. Okay, so here's our search equipment. And I could tap into the equipment form and I can start typing something or filtering on a piece of equipment. I also have this little barcode scanner right here, which is just taking advantage of the camera on the iPad. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on that, and I'll activate the camera, and I'm going to take one of our tags here, and I'm going to hold it up here. And it just read in, I don't know if you saw that, it was kind of quick, but it read in that the barcode from one of our asset tags, and it calls up that piece of equipment. So this tells us a lot of information about the equipment. Again, this is what that big project was that we've been doing for the last 2.5 years of collecting all of this data and building it into the database and getting it nice and clean. Now, in addition to collecting this data and loading it in, we didn't want to just go out and do that one time and be done with it, because unless you can maintain it, it's useless after a year, 2 years, 3 years. You know, as soon as you stop maintaining it, it starts to drift off, becomes unreliable. So part of the project was to ensure that our processes were in place so that we could maintain this data. So it's on all fronts. Whenever maintenance staff touch or modify, do anything with equipment, they have to let us know what's happening with that equipment. So what we did is we added into the mobile app this menu item up here, update equipment. So if they're sitting on any piece of equipment here, what they can do is they can tap on that update equipment, and it says propose equipment changes, and they can come in here and they can edit any of these fields. They can tap to add in notes. Okay, you can add in notes through voice dictation on that. And they can also take pictures if they're dropped in a new piece of equipment to tell us one that they've retired and one that they're adding in. And what happens once you put those edits in, you submit this. This creates a work order that goes to our PM group, and then they're responsible for going out and asset tagging it and updating the database. So that's one way of maintaining the equipment database through our maintenance folks. In addition, we also have our processes cleaned up for how we capture equipment now for any renovations and also for capital projects, and how we capture all that information at the end of a project on closeout. So on this equipment detail record here, it tells me a lot of information, the location of it. So this is located in our Richmond 222, our Med Ed building. It's on the 4th floor, room 405. It shows the last 5 work orders on this piece of equipment. Okay. And then there's a bunch of attachments here. And the attachments are notes that we've added to the database or photos of this. Okay. So if I go down and I tap on the photo here, that's the particular air handling unit that we were sitting on, this record. So it's a rather large piece of equipment. Okay, and I go down, and then we take pictures of all the nameplates as well. And then here's an actuator, it looks like, that would control the vents. Okay, and then the equipment description. Okay, and what filters that it uses. And then this piece of equipment, you can see there's a note here in the bottom that says confined space. So if I tap on that one, it says this equipment has been identified as permit required confined space. You must follow the confined space protocols, etc. So we've dropped all those into our equipment records wherever that applies as well, so that we know that the staff going in there have the proper permitting and training to enter those spaces. Pretty powerful, though, to have this right at your fingertips out in the field. So here are the last 5 work orders. I can pick any one of those. I'll just grab one of these and tap on one of those that was closed. And again, you can scroll through this now, and this was the history on one of these past work orders. So here we have the employee completion notes from when this work was done before. So let's see, I'm going to tap on the employee completion notes. So this technician was Mike Connell, and he checked the AHU, found that the outside dampers were stuck in the open position. He checked the actuator and found the damper side frames were, etc. You get the idea. But this is because of the voice dictation now. These guys are putting in pretty good notes for us. Prior to the mobile, they would come in, like I said, at the end of the day, sit in front of their terminals and start to type this in, and you just didn't really get the notes that you needed. But with the voice dictation, it really helps get some information. Okay, so that's one piece of equipment I want to show you. I'm going to go back out here. I'm going to tap on default and do a clean search again. So I'm going to search on another piece of equipment. Let me just, before I scan this, I'll just go to my camera for a second and just show you, that's what the asset tag looks like right there. Okay, that's our standard. We put the code on there and the barcode ID. Okay, so let me go back to the app here. And I'm going to go ahead and scan this in. So that calls up that record, and it looks like there are 2, oh I see, it got a little confused, which happens. So I want it to go to 274, and there's that record right there. So this one here is a air handler unit as well. This is in our Waterman 85 building. And if I tap on the specifications, here's where we put the filter information and all the different model numbers and the information you need to order parts and supplies. And then here's the last 5 work orders on this one. And what I wanted to show this one for is because this is what we're just beginning to do, and this is where all these efforts are starting to come together here, which is what we want to capture is not only the last 5 work orders of PM that were done, but we want to capture all reactive work as well. So we really couldn't do that before we had everything asset tagged and we had the ability to capture the asset tag in the field. And now we can do this. So when a work order comes in for too hot, too cold, the technician goes out to the field, chases it back to the source, to the piece of equipment that was causing the problem. They can now scan in that barcode into the reactive for the unplanned work order, and now we capture the history on that. And that's really the sweet spot of having the true cost of what it takes to maintain equipment, because now you get your planned and unplanned work. And having that data is going to allow us to really make informed decisions about what equipment we go after to try to replace. So in this case, there's a reactive work order here, this second one up from the bottom. Outside air duct has a leak in it. Okay, so there's the work order here. There was a water leak from the outside air intake in the duct. They have to install an access panel. Okay, so this is good information, and we're capturing the labor cost and any material costs that go with this so that we know the true cost of this piece of equipment over time. Okay, so what is this? This is the air handling unit here that we're looking at, and that is its tag. And then this particular one here is this is in room 412. So let me drill back down into that. So here's the floor plan for that, and it's in this back room right here of that building. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a sense of what that navigation is like and the information that you can capture with this mobile. Okay, next thing I'm going to show you are the visual aids and our document management. Okay, so we have a menu item on here right under the search for equipment that's highlighted here. It's search Meridian Doc. So Meridian is our document management solution. We've loaded like I said, thousands of documents into that. And in this particular case, I'm going to search for a document, and then I'm going to say I want a building master. So all of our visual aids will put into our building masters, which is the documents that we're committing to maintain and keep up to date and accurate. Okay, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to click on building. I could scroll through this list, or I can start typing in something. So I'm going to type in complex because I want to go for our biomed complex. So I'm going to search biomed complex, and I want to search under discipline, and I'm going to search for everything that's mechanical, HVAC, and hit the search button on that. Okay, so I'm going to let that search for a moment and call up all those documents out of the database. And while that's happening, let me just show you, this is a live picture here of our webcam for our School of Engineering project. Okay, so that's, they're just starting to set the steel today. And those graphics that I showed you earlier of the BIM model, that's what the BIM model is representing with this new structure that's going in right here. Okay. So here are the results of that document search that I just did. It came back with 24 documents. And if I just look through some of those, the visual aids are riser diagrams, they're system manuals, they're talking about the entire system, so that if you're trying to troubleshoot something and you want to get into the building, you need to understand how the whole system works. So that's what these do for us. Okay. So one of the documents is this at the bottom here, this major equipment locations. Again, the BIM model will be great for this when I can truly call up the 3D image quickly and and actually isolate all the equipment three-dimensionally. But we're not there yet. So until we get there, this is what we're using. So this shows me the whole biomed complex. It's 3 buildings all lumped together. And I can zoom in here and it tells you where all the major equipment is on this. So let me zoom out here and show you where. So this is the basement level for those 3 buildings. And in the basement, you got the air handling units there and condenser pumps and chilled water pumps and et cetera, et cetera. It's color-coded to let you know there's the mechanical equipment is blue and the electrical power and then emergency electrical, et cetera. Okay, but it's got all the levels of this building are on here. So if I go up to the roof level, because it's usually the roof and the basements that have all the equipment, here's the roof level here with a bunch of fans, heat recovery pumps, etc. So this is pretty powerful, though, to have this at your fingertips. Again, you know, if you're hunting for this piece of equipment, or as staff flow in and out of your organization, they can start to utilize this and find this stuff, saving time, which is what we're trying to do. Okay. The other document I want to show you, and then I'll wrap this up here. This one might take a little bit to call up, but this is really, let me tap on filter here and do system. So I want to call it the system manual. And this is a pretty big document, but this is really kind of the starting point for our technicians, especially, again, anybody new coming in, they can call it the system manual, and hopefully they can do it anytime and start to get acquainted with how the systems in the building work and how they function. So this is for our biomed complex. You can see it's a 491-page document. But what you can do is scroll through here, and it gives you a little summary of the systems in the building, a little layout of how the floors work and how the levels work in the building. Okay, and you scroll through here, how to navigate through the system manual. And then there's a system directory here, which gives you hyperlinks to major systems in the building here. So if I tap on the chilled water system here, it takes me to that section of the manual, and I can zoom in here now, and now you can read about the chilled water system and start to understand how that works with some photos of the equipment there. Okay, and then you can just scroll through here. You see the chiller 1 chilled water system here. There's the cooling tower, etc. Okay, and then you can get back to the system directory by tapping on that and get back to the system directory. So hopefully that's relevant to what you guys are working on. I know so far, I mean, this is relatively new for us, but very powerful stuff, and we're pretty excited to really keep expanding this out and try and make use of this technology so that we can gain some efficiencies here and keep everything running smoothly. So I think at that point I will stop and thank CFTA for letting me speak and giving me some opportunity here, and thank you, Lauren, for being such a good host. And I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Monty. Thank you for sharing what you've been doing. That looks like a pretty cool system. We do have several questions coming in. So at this time, we will move into that Q&A portion of the webinar. If you have any question that has not yet been submitted or any comments that you'd like to share, please feel free to go ahead and send that using the questions dialog box, and we'll get going. So first off, just looking more into the system that you have set up in the demo that you've been sharing and picking that apart. We have several questions coming in about that. Where are the labor charges pulled from? So you had the icon on the right that was showing which items have labor charges associated with them. Is that syncing up to the timekeeping system and pulling directly from there?
Yes. So every work order in our famous system has time labor tracking on it. So they enter their time in on their time card on the mobile device. In fact, as I'll show that as we let me jump back to the mobile device and just show you what that looks like. So if I go to a time card, here's the time card for this particular employee, and I'm sitting on the 10th here. If I put any labor in against any of those work orders, the labor shows up here and keeps track of it for the day. And then when I finish it for the day, get my 8 hours, I go ahead and submit the time card and it goes to the supervisor. But that all is in Famous, and then we use all those labor charges for our payroll. We use that and we submit that out to our central finance system, and that's how payroll is done.
Okay.
Hopefully that answered the question.
I think yeah, it does. It does. Now, as far as locations, you had shown that it was representing your location with the blue dots. Is that coming from the iPad or the mobile device?
Yeah, the location, when I go to that, let's just do this again here. When I go to location. So it looks at where I am and plots me on the map here, okay? And then it shows the push pins of the locations of the buildings for where all the work orders are. But it is using my iPad to locate me through GPS.
And do you find that to be pretty accurate even when you're inside of buildings?
Yeah, I mean, it's not super accurate within the building itself, but from a map standpoint, you can see where you are, what building you're in or near.
Okay. Okay. Very cool. So going to the photos and the notes in the app, those are pulling from a few different sources. I believe it was Meridian and Famous. Are there any other systems that you're syncing up with there?
So in the attachments that we have right now from the work orders are primarily coming out of Famous. So all the note attachments are in Famous as part of the work order record or the equipment record or whatever the case may be. A lot of the photos are actually still in Famous because we were working on that project before we did the document management. But now all those attachments are starting to migrate out into Meridian, and we'll be hyperlinking them all right to Meridian. When I search Meridian docs, that is integrated with Meridian and pulling from Meridian Live. And then we integrate with our projects database just between Meridian and our projects database.
Okay, very cool. So you're trying to get them out of Famous and into Meridian rather, but
yes.
They're Famous now. Okay, and why that decision?
Because Famous is not intended to be a document management system, and the attachments really make the database grow ridiculously large. So I want to keep those out separate.
Okay. So going back to the preventive maintenance versus reactive maintenance that you mentioned at the beginning, you shared the 1% rule of thumb versus the over 2.5% that is associated with reactive maintenance. And I noticed that you said, like, I think it was in 2011, about 70% was reactive and 30% is planned, and the target is essentially to reverse that figure. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay,
so
and so then
we started out with 70% reactive work. And now to achieve that turnaround, there's a couple of things happening. It's not, I have to say, it's not 100% that we're just, that our planned maintenance is so good, our reactive's gone down that much. A lot of it has to do with how we're classifying coding work as well. So there's some of it, that gain is in that too, how you classify the work. So for instance, if you're doing a preventive maintenance work order and you discover that you need to, in addition to the PM task, you need to come back and replace some bearings or do that work that's spawned from that is corrective work, and that corrective work is considered planned work. Okay. Because it's, again, you're doing it before the breakdown, so it's planned. So that constitutes some of that shift in the numbers that we're seeing.
Absolutely, and it's a positive thing, because then you're reacting to an observation rather than reacting that to a catastrophe or a phone call. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Okay, now moving forward, you have the asset tags now on the equipment that you're using to help track the reactive maintenance, and you shared that you're you weren't really able to capture that in the reactive maintenance costs before those asset tags. How recent did you add those, and have you been able to observe any changes in keeping with those asset tags being added yet?
Too soon to really bear the fruit of this, but very exciting in that we now can start to capture.
No kidding, yeah.
So a lot of it is cultural change and education and training of our workforce. Now that we have everything in place, i.e. the barcodes there, the database ready to go, and the mobile devices, we can now start to say you must start capturing the underlying piece of equipment on all reactive work orders if they can find that. So that's us starting that dialogue now and training with our workforce to start to capture that information. And it's very slowly starting to trickle in here because we have been talking it up for a number of months now, but now we're formally starting to get that going.
I bet that'll be really fun data to play with.
That should inform us as to what equipment is, we think it's going to help guide our equipment standards. So if we see equipment that just has a lot of breakdowns and it's very expensive to maintain, we'll change our standards out now on the front end for new renovation or capital projects to other equipment that's less costly to maintain.
Mm-hmm. All right, that is great. Now the app that you're using, or the mobile solution that you're using rather, is AppTree. Is that correct?
AppTree software is developed that, and it's I don't know what their current count is now, but they're up around 30, a little over 30 different universities that are using the product. And it's a base product that you start with, and then you configure it and customize it for your particular needs.
Does the voice dictation come built into that app?
What it is, it's a native app, so it's taking advantage of all the native features of iOS. They also support Android, but we're an iOS shop. So it's using just the native iOS voice dictation embedded within the app. Same with using the camera features and the GPS and the navigation features. That's all part of iOS.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really neat. I can imagine that curbs a lot of frustration when folks are out in the field trying to do work and maybe have dirty, greasy fingers and don't want to be touching the device in that degree, or that don't have the time to type it in. Just to be able to dictate that is powerful. So it's neat to see that that's working for you and is integrating with that app. Very cool. Very cool. So the systems manual you shared, is there a systems manual for each building?
Oh, I wish. We are no. That was a pilot program, and it was a pretty big investment to build that. And there's an ongoing investment to maintain it. But what we've done is we've built into our front end for all projects that any lab or any project that touches any of system, those manuals have to be updated as part of the project. So we intend to have those for our equipment intensive portfolios. So part of our strategy with the PM was to break all of our buildings into portfolios. So our number one portfolio was our central heat plant. Second portfolio were our biomed complex, which is what you saw the system diagram for. The third one are all of our research buildings. Beyond that, we may not be doing them when we get below that level, because it's really those three portfolios where there's the most equipment, and that's where the big spend is.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And who updates those? Who's maintaining that information?
So we had contracted out with an engineer that we work a lot with that does a lot of our commissioning, and they will continue to do a lot of our commissioning as well. But the maintenance of it now, just at the beginning of any new project, when we deliver, here's our current BIM model, or here's our best set of drawings and manuals that we have, part of that will be delivering, here's our current system manual. And if you alter anything in it, you update that and deliver it back to us.
Okay. Okay. The next questions are more related to personnel and how successful people have been in adopting this technology. So I really appreciated the Tableau chart. That was a cool chart to see just the metrics on how that particular part of the technology is being adopted. Now, how receptive have folks, technicians, supervisors, managers, and even upper management been to adopting this technology and using it in daily routines?
I think it spans the whole spectrum. Collectively, the net has been wildly successful. Certainly, a lot of the newer technicians, I'll say, have embraced it, and they're already saying, don't ever take this away. They can't do without it. There are plenty of holdouts, but our approach deploying this technology, we didn't mandate it. What we did is we asked for volunteers. And we had a number of people step up that wanted to use it, and others saw them using it and got interested and excited about it and started asking for it. And then, so when we were all said and done, we had 97% of our staff wanted to come and get the devices. And maybe part of that was because we hand them an iPad and we say, here's your iPad, it's assigned to you. It's Brown-owned property, but it's your iPad. You can take it home and use it for personal use, and use it for, watch Netflix on it, whatever. Just make sure you bring it in every day, fully charged, ready to go to work. And, overall, pretty positive results. Plenty of technical snafus that we continue to struggle with and work through, but, that's understandable. It's still a new technology.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And how much office administration is needed for running this system? Did you say you have 8,000 students? Trying to recall you provided at the beginning with how much employees and students
there's 9,000 students, a little over 9,000 total student base. But what's the question though? How many? What is it? How many staff to support?
How much in-office support is needed? So you have folks out in the field that are using this as part of their daily work, and then presumably you have folks like yourself that are in the office maintaining the systems and supporting operations. How many people do you need for that side of the house?
So we have 2 help desk staff that have done a Herculean effort to deploy all the devices and address all of the end user issues with the devices. And that's, they handle all the telecommunications, desktop support, mobile support, and various other things. So part of their task is supporting the devices in the field. They help. They're doing a lot of one-on-one training with the technicians that are struggling with some of the technology. And just coaching them through it, and spend time with them and walk them through it. And then on the back end, as far as there's 2 of us, myself and our DBA, that are doing a lot of the communications with the developer to fix bugs and issues and to add enhancements.
Okay.
And that's really it for the back end support.
Okay. That's great. Well, I'd like to wrap up with one more question. We're coming up on the end right now, but this is an important one. What are your biggest challenges at this point for mobility adoption and integration with other systems, as well as any other large obstacles that you're facing, and what are your goals in the near future in those areas?
An easy question, huh? Jeez.
Yeah, of course. This is a little last question.
Integration is a pretty significant challenge right now. We got a lot of challenges around trying to integrate in with other systems that we want to integrate with. One of our big projects that we have coming up that we've really just kicked off is we're actually ready to upgrade our work order management system. So we've started that whole project, and that's going to basically disrupt everything we have in play here. and we'll have to redo all those integrations that we have. So you're looking at a 12-month minimum to 18-month project. So that's a big one. The other one is, there's a constant churn on requests for new features on the mobile. And the mobile application that we're currently using now, there's a new version coming out which has even a lot more time card tracking functionality. Really some cool resource loading tools from a dispatch standpoint. So we're keeping an eye on that, and we'll probably be doing some of those upgrades as well. So that's a couple of the projects, a couple of the big ones.
All right. All right. Well, thank you very much, Monty. Thank you very, very much for sharing your work in our series. And thank you to all of our attendees for joining us today. You will be able to access the recording and slides from the CFTA website following this webinar. If we weren't able to answer your question today, or you have any additional questions that you did not pose, please feel free to contact Monty directly, and his contact information is on the website, and I think he's moving to it now as well. The next and final webinar in the 2016 Geotech Showcase is scheduled for 1 p.m. Eastern Time on June 7th. Grant McCormick, GIS Manager at the University of Arizona, will present on their enterprise GIS. For more information on future webinars in this series and more, visit the CFTA website at www.cfta.org. Thank you.